Liverpool. Graham, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, if I was Theresa May, I would blame the Brexiteers. Why didn't she do this? Why didn't she just stand up, give all of the facts to everybody about the fact that David Davis was in charge of negotiations for over a year and got nowhere, didn't negotiate anything for anyone. Boris Johnson was Foreign Secretary, absolutely useless, didn't achieve anything in his time as Foreign Secretary. Blame the Brexiteers and say, we could have had an orderly, sensible Brexit in which we stayed in the single market, we stayed in the customs union, which would mean the Northern Ireland thing.
They were her red lines at Mansion House, Graham. They weren't David. I mean, admittedly, it was red meat.
That's what she can say. I made those my red lines because this is what the Brexiteers in my party told me to do.
Romani ite domum.
I don't speak any Latin, but she didn't.
I think that means Romans go home, so that's quite a nice one. That could almost have been a Brexit slogan.
All over Parliament.
Or Romanians.
One of the things that we've seen over the last couple of years is a reticence, all politicians from all parties really, and from journalists, I have to say, from educating the public about the actual consequences of leaving the biggest and most successful and richest trading bloc in the world, and what it's actually going to mean to them in their everyday lives.
Okay. So look, she stands up, but what does it lead to? Does it lead because she's calling the whole thing off, or just calling a general election, or calling a proper referendum where people can give informed consent rather than utterly ill-informed consent or lack of?
On Friday, there's a second reading of Bill 208. It's the European Union Withdrawal Agreement Public Vote Bill. This was put forward by Gareth Thomas MP, and the idea is that we have a referendum on the withdrawal deal, whether we get one or not, or whether to remain in the EU, knowing now what we know.
What would happen if she did that? I mean,
we would have a referendum.
The usual suspects would have a fit, but what would happen to her in terms of her position?
Well, she could support it, and because Jeremy Corbyn is so anti-EU, he won't, will he? He won't make any efforts. And actually, in the long run, it's probably better for the Tories that they do that, because they'll take a lot of votes. If they said in the next election, we're going to have a referendum and we're going to have an election next month or something, lots of people, like myself, who have never voted Tory in our lives, would vote Tory just to get the referendum.
So they could, it's a break-up promise, but she's done that a few times before.
But blame it on the Brexiteers.
Blame it also, and just say
blame it all on the ERG. It's all
yeah, okay. Listen, I know that you are very well versed in these matters, much more than the average MP or indeed journalist. But if she did that, so she dissolves Parliament, calls a general election, dissolves Parliament, calls a general election based upon having a second referendum in the Conservatives' manifesto. Yeah,
well, you tweeted about this last month.
Yeah, I did, and I've done a bit of research. I mean, it was mischievous speculation, but because under the fixed term Parliament Act, she can't. But of course, all she needs to get that through is for Labour to want a general election. So I'm pretty certain she could get a majority to vote for the dissolution of Parliament and a general election.
But what's particularly frustrating is Labour plus the Lib Dems plus the SNP plus Tory rebels are a majority in the House. So actually,
what happens to her if she does that?
Having a second referendum is something we could do, like third referendum.
Well, what happens to her if that happens? Because she'll get monstered by the usual subjects, by the mewling pencils.
It's the way that you spin it. You say, look, we did it your way, and it was a massive failure. Now we're losing jobs, we're losing money.
No, I think, okay, I'm late for the news, which is my fault, not yours. But the problem with that, of course, is this denial of reality. So they blame it all on, they blame it on Jean-Claude Juncker, they'll blame it on Lily Allen, they'll blame it on me, they'll blame it on Remainers, they'll blame it on Brussels, they'll blame it on the boogie. It's 10:31. Simon Conway's here with the headlines.
Theresa